Let's move on now to maybe the highest and most highly anticipated matchup of the entire quarterfinal. And that's Archbishop Wood against St. Joe's Prep, a 4 versus 5 seed, all determined, Will, by the last day of the regular season. Archbishop Wood, last weekend, won a huge game on Friday night behind 40 points from Jaleel Bethea. An overtime win at Kelly Fieldhouse. We know how difficult that place is to play. We found out even the next weekend that it was harder than we all imagined. But that win for Archbishop Wood put the Vikings in the driver's seat, that if they won out, they would host a playoff game. More importantly, in a 6A classification where there are 3 teams good enough to win a state title. Actually, I'd even say more. Father Judge is in that mix as well. But St. Joe's Prep, Archbishop Wood, Roman Catholic. Roman Catholic's in a really good spot. I don't believe guaranteed quite yet, but they're in a really good spot. And so that second spot looked to be up for grabs, Will. And if it's Archbishop Wood and St. Joe's Prep trying to vie for that spot, where they finished in the regular season could be really important. Because whoever has that advantage, even if it's with the same record and a head-to-head tiebreaker going one way, the other team would need to advance one more round in the playoffs. So it was lining up potentially for a 4-5 matchup between these two teams until St. Joe's Prep had the second best win across the Catholic League all year long when they hammered Roman Catholic at Kelly Fieldhouse by 18 points, only bested by the win earlier in the season for Archbishop Wood against Newman Goretti, handing the Saints their only regular season loss. So then coming into the last day of the regular season here, we'll go to Friday first. Wood loses a heartbreaker to West Catholic, and St. Joe's Prep slams Roman. I mean, they really do. So all the work that Archbishop Wood did the prior week to get ahead and have that head-to-head advantage in the standings was gone. All St. Joe's Prep needed to do was beat Cardinal O'Hara. Well, we talked to Ryan Nemitz earlier in the show. His team is playing at an extremely high level. That's not an upset. His team is absolutely talented enough to get to the Palestra and win the whole thing. And St. Joe's Prep had a tough back-to-back. They lose that game on the road. Archbishop Wood beats Lansdale Catholic, setting up this matchup that we thought we'd have, but then didn't think we have. Now we have. And so St. Joe's Prep, Archbishop Wood, winner goes to the Palestra, and the loser goes home. No chance at a state title, which, as I think you'd agree with me here, both teams are good enough to win.
Yes, not just compete, but win. Absolutely. And the 5th best team or the 4th best team in the Philadelphia Catholic League not making the state playoffs is troubling for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. But listen, it's just one of those years. And I would throw Father Judge into that mix as well. It's just, I know they're 9th in the Catholic League, but good enough to beat a whole bunch of teams that'll be playing in late March.
Yeah, we heard Dan Hilferty say that in his one word. He said it's the only league in actually, excuse me, I believe it was Jason Hackman who said it. Excuse me, but Jason Hackman said it's the only league in America where you can miss the PCL playoffs and be a contender in the state championship.
Which I don't know if this is a hot take. It might not be, but I'm here to throw this out there. Devon Prep is making a run.
Oh, right? Absolutely. And they got plenty of practice time. They'll probably be off the court a little bit. They'll have some film time. It's a reset for them. Absolutely. Being the 11th seed, missing the playoffs, but they will have plenty of time to make their 3A run.
They sure will. And it's a team that is sophomore driven, right? And so those are guys that have learned how to win, have experienced how to lose in late game situations. Okay, well, those sophomores are almost juniors at this point with a full season under their belt. And I just don't think there's many leagues out there that have seen what's coming out of the Catholic League. Reigning state champ, Devon Prep beat West Catholic last year. So keep an eye on the Tide. I know this is a PCL preview show, but I think they have a state run ahead of them. But as we talk about this game, I think all those applications of tiebreakers and all the repercussions of this game make it the most highly anticipated game of the weekend. And we're here to announce live and in person, Bob Long Sports will be in the building in Warminster broadcasting Archbishop Wood against St. Joe's Prep, and that's one we're really, really excited for.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. We've had the pleasure of doing a bunch of games at Archbishop Wood this year. We were fortunate enough to do the great the Moscow event, honoring Coach Moscow's late wife Diane. Just a wonderful event, and we're always so happy to do that game. And then LaSalle versus Archbishop Wood, Devon Prep versus Archbishop Wood. We've been at Archbishop Wood a lot this year.
Yeah,
we like to call it our home.
Home away from home, no doubt about it. So let's talk Archbishop Wood here. John Moscow, longtime assistant with Carl Aragale at Newman Goretti, came in, took over his own program, and brought in the likes of the Colin Gillespies, the Rasul Diggins, Deshaun Shepherds, those tremendous teams. State semifinalists multiple times. A team that expects to be playing in March. They have the talent to do it, and they're led by arguably the best player in the league, a star-studded junior, Jaleel Bethea.
Yeah, Jaleel Bethea, he's breaking records that we haven't seen since Colin Gillespie at Archbishop Wood, and even before Colin Gillespie. 40 points in a game versus St. Joe's Prep at St. Joe's Prep. Kelly Fieldhouse, a tough place to play as a visitor. Jaleel disagreed, put up 40 in an overtime game. He put up 30 against Newman Goretti in a win at Newman Goretti. First time since before 2005 that Archbishop Wood had beat Newman Goretti at Newman Goretti. First time that Newman Goretti had lost a home game in since 2020, I believe, pre-COVID. So it's really been a great year for Jaleel Bethea. He's putting up historic numbers, and he's a PCL MVP candidate.
He sure is. Yeah, Jaleel Bethea, one of our favorites here. And, Will, we talked to him after several games, and I brought up, hey, when it's winning time, it's your time. You're a second half guy. And he says, hey, I'm an all game guy.
He's not a second half player,
true.
Bob.
I mean, that's true. You are an all game guy. However, complimentary here, of course. When it is winning time, I don't think there's a better player in the league.
No, he wants the ball in his hands, and he makes plays. It's not all standstill open threes. He'll go to the rim. He loves the pull-up jump shot. He's really dangerous.
He is. And actually, a lot of times, he mixes it up on the rebounding end because he has that length, and that creates opportunities in transition where Archbishop Wood is so difficult. John Moscow will talk about it, but their style is at times to allow, not to allow buckets intentionally, but their style lends itself to that because they're focused on getting out on the break, wearing you out, getting to the offensive glass with superstar rebounder Carson Howard, and allowing some of those sophomores and juniors, making their way into the starting lineup this year that sat behind the Shepherds of the world and last year even the Mike Nouses of the world. And now this is their time.
Absolutely. And Milan Dean is probably the biggest beneficiary of that opportunity. He's had back-to-back 17-point games towards the end of the season. Really great lob threat, good defensively. He's been super exciting. Deuce Maxey, we call him a sixth starter because he really is. He'll finish a lot of games, run the point guard for them. And then Mike Green, amongst others. They're really, really, really talented.
So let's hear from our guest, John Moscow, one of our favorites in the Catholic League. Spent some time with us over the weekend to break down the big matchup.
With Archbishop Wood head coach John Moscow. Coach Moscow, we'll start by talking about early in the season. You guys challenged yourself with a non-conference schedule. I kind of wrote 5 teams down that stood out to me. You guys played Penn Charter, you guys played North Catholic, St. Francis Academy, Penn Hills, and Lincoln Park. Can you tell me a little bit about how that challenging non-conference schedule gets you ready for the PCL?
Yeah, I looked at this team and we were a lot younger coming back. We had some good pieces, but I wanted to challenge them in different ways. We only played the one home game, and that was against North Catholic at my wife's event, which was a totally different type of team, the way they played up and down, small. We had a guard. St. Francis is a national team on a national level, so that's challenging right there. And then I wanted to go to Pittsburgh to play Lincoln Park. And I forget the other team we played, but on the road in Pittsburgh with, like PIAA officials, so the kids could get challenged, and nothing was easy that way. Downingtown West was an opener, and then Penn Charter was a senior laden team. So I wanted to make sure we got something out of this non-league schedule. And we were tested, we had a few slip ups and we were able to learn from them and get better.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And another thing that I think will, get you guys ready for the playoffs is I have you guys down for 11 games decided by 10 points or less, and that's not even including when you guys kind of took over in overtime against the Prep. So if you want to count that, that's like 12 games. This that could go either way. Um, you've played all these tough games. You've played a lot of games on the road, as you said. Your only non-conference home game was at your wife's event. Um, the road win at Newman Goretti, the road win at Kelly Fieldhouse, which Bob and I were talking about, what a tough place to play. So if you
Yes.
guys do have to go on the road for your first playoff game, I assume you guys will be well prepared because of your schedule.
Yeah, we feel that way and well tested and ready for the atmosphere that, playing on the road brings in the Catholic League. And that's why we did that, the scheduling earlier and not playing at home and being challenged so they could face adversity and face not getting a call, kids hollering at them and so forth, and, fans. Um, you know, we were close in those games, but people could say that we weren't blowing people out or playing up to our standard. So you look at it both ways. There's room for improvement where we have to get better. Even last night, it was a close game, and we gave up 4 opportunities at the end, and we couldn't get a rebound to win the game. And they made a shot at the buzzer. So, hopefully I told them we got to learn from this, get back, play Lansdowne tomorrow, and then prepare for whoever it is, but most likely to Prep. And, that'll be one game to go to the States and go to this Palestra. So it's
Yeah, there's
all in one.
the 6A and the PCL, obviously a
Correct.
multifaceted game. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable how there's 3 top 5 programs in the PCL that are 6A. One of them's not going to make it to the states.
correct.
Just
Correct.
incredible to me. Jaleel Bethea against West Catholic, he had 30 again. He had 40 against the Prep, 30 against Newman Goretti. Talk about how the last year the super sub, now just kind of like the superstar junior. He's really stepped up for you guys, and he seems to love. Bob called him a second half player, and he kind of took exception to that. But how he loves stepping up when the game is tight.
Yeah. He loves the spotlight. He loves being the man. He's so efficient. Like last night, he was 10 for 17 in the small gym with everybody on top of him and everybody grabbing and holding him. They know he's getting the ball and he's a scorer. He's a flat out scorer. He just does things. And, he's been working on getting his teammates better and all that stuff. And he's averaging close to 5 or 6 assists a game. And is not 10 for 17. He's efficient. He's shooting 58% from field goals. So it's not like he's shooting 30% trying to get all those points. Um, and I think he needs 11 points tomorrow to average 22 in the PCL. If he gets 22, he'll be the first player since Eddie Griffin to average 25 a game in the PCL. So that's pretty good company.
Wow. Yeah, I had him down going into that West game from Beyond the Arc Basketball, who I believe is associated with Bonner. They had him at 24.7 points per game, which is 3.3 points per game, more than the next closest guy. Um, yeah, he's been unreal this year. I was just talking about the supporting cast.
Yes.
I mean, Josh Reed, one of the best defenders in the league. Carson Howard, it's now his second year in the program, and he just continues to seem to improve. And then Mike Green and Deuce Maxey, kind of two Deuce especially kind of like a sixth starter, but Mike stepped up big. I think back to both the Devon Prep game and I think back to the LaSalle game. He played
Yes.
great. I think Gus Salem against O'Hara and against St. Joe's Prep. I mean, he couldn't be any bigger. So obviously Jaleel's the superstar, but around him, everyone's stepping up. Milan, back-to-back 17-point games recently. Just can you talk about the supporting cast a little bit?
Yeah, I think they're all, we're starting to blend together at this right time, where you took different personalities and different pieces. And, it's tough when you don't have that big senior leader like a Justin Moore, Rasul Diggins, Colin Gillespie. where everybody, they're looking at Jalil, but they also want to be Jalil. And, you know, they had to realize what everybody's role was. And we had to, take back. I couldn't coach them like I could coach Sewell's team. They were different personalities and we were a lot younger. And, in the beginning, I probably didn't coach them the right way. We had some non-league losses and up until Carroll, and then we picked it up and, they give him they give him a lot of support, and we have a lot of scores where they can't just key on Jalil. At the prep, we started hitting the middle, and Milan kept getting to the basket. Josh was offensive rebounding, and they were scoring, and then that opens up for Jalil, where they can't guard him one on one or send doubles at him, and he could trust his teammates, and we could, score. And Carson does a great job rebounding the ball offensively and defensively.
Yeah. And then one last thing about Josh Reed. You talked about his offensive rebounding. I think against LaSalle he had 6 points, and yet he's still always engaged in the game. Against Archbishop Ryan, obviously a tough loss, but on that last play, when you go back and look at the film, Josh Reed's out on the perimeter and the shot goes up and he somehow sneaks around and gets that offensive rebound. His work rate is
Correct.
so impressive.
Yes. I mean, he's a nonstop worker, great kid. He just works hard and you don't have to run plays for him and he's scoring 10, 12 points a game. Um, he's a physical guard that offensive rebounds and he plays defense and he does whatever we need him to do.
And before we go, I want to include this real quick. I know that your students are always super involved. So if it is a road game, do you have a little plea to the Wood Wackies to come down to Kelly Fieldhouse or wherever you might be playing?
Yeah, I think the Wackies will be traveling. They travel well. It'll be a Friday night. We might even get them a bus to come down and take them down there and offer them some gear. At the last home game, we gave away a pair of sneakers. So we get great support. And it's great in the Catholic League. How you get it at LaSalle. All these schools have great um, students that follow their student athletes and they support the games, and that's what makes the PCL so fun.
John, one before we let you go here. So you talked about some of those past names, the Rasul Diggins, the Colin Gillespies, the Andrew Funks of the world. Those guys, and I know a lot of them have their own basketball careers that they're working on right now. But you hear from any of those guys at this time of year? You got a couple of state playoff, and state finalist teams. I know there's a pride in that program for those that have come
Oh
before
yeah,
these guys.
last night alone, Justin Moore was at the game, and a Deuce, we call him Deuce, who graduated from, he can't transferred in from McDevitt when they closed. They were both there supporting us. They went in the locker room. Colin's always sending text messages, and Mike Nouse and Sewell and all those guys, they all reach out during the playoff times and they talk to the players, and they want them to keep the program going. And you know, the talking to Jalil today, his legacy. I told him you could have a legacy in scoring and all that, but look on the wall. Will you be a Colin Gillespie or Rasul Diggins? That's what you got to ask yourself, or do you just want the numbers?
That's great. That's a good parting shot there. And in terms of building the program and keeping it going, as long as you're at the helm, I think Wood's in a great spot. We
I
appreciate you
appreciate
doing
that.
this with us.
I appreciate you having me, and you guys are great for PCL. You guys do a great job. Thank you, Bob. Even
Thank you.
Will,
Good luck.
even Will,
We'll be
I only had to face him one time this year, so I like when you're on my side.
Thank you, Coach Moscow.
Thanks.
we'll be
Have a good
watching.
one, guy. Yeah. Hopefully you'll be at the game. Thanks.
That's our buddy John Moscow joining us from Archbishop Wood as they prepare for a really big game. And listen, that's a program that is built to and is used to playing big games, multiple state championship appearances, multiple Catholic League titles. This is just another in a long line of huge matchups coming to Warminster.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we were talking in that interview, I guess the assumption was that they would be playing a road game. I know it means so much to them to be playing in their home gym. They've done well in their home gym, and it's going to be a really exciting atmosphere on Friday, and we're very excited to be there.
We sure are. And as we talk about Archbishop Wood, we talked about some of those keys, the Deuce Maxeys of the world that have come into a larger role. But I think it comes down to Carson Howard. One thing anecdotally that I've seen him doing better, and I think the stats would back it up, very good, very much improved at the free throw line as well this season, which he's a guy that gets there often, crashes the offensive glass. Folks are hacking away at him. Free throw line, a big key.
Yeah, he's gotten hammered on many occasions, but against St. Joe's Prep, they kind of went to the Howard strategy, and it didn't work.
Yep.
Archbishop Wood was able to knock down a lot of clutch free throws there. Excuse me. And then, against LaSalle, he was very efficient as well. He's been much improved at the line this year.
Yeah. Now, I think that'll be a great game. Jaleel Bethea going up against the likes of Jaron McKee and Jalen Harper. Those are great matchups also. Just matchup of the quarterfinals as far as I'm concerned. It will be just a fantastic matchup. St. Joe's Prep, your quick hits on them before we hear from Jason Harrigan.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Jaron McKee, Jalen Harper. Tristan Gillowette is a much improved big man this season. I've been very impressed by him. And then Jordan Ellerby. We talked about Deuce Maxey as a sixth starter. Jordan Ellerby might even be more so a sixth starter. He'll come on. Sometimes Olin Chamberlain will come out. Sometimes he'll go with five guards. If Tristan Gillowette needs a break, he's been an integral part of their success.
Yeah, it should be just a heck of a basketball game. And without further ado, we'll get to our interviews. But, Will, you were instrumental in setting this up. So why don't you introduce our next guest?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had Matt Gerner on, and then mid-interview, Coach Jason Harrigan was able to jump on as well. So we have two St. Joe's Prep coaches well represented here.
We're here with Coach Matt Gerner, JV head coach at St. Joe's Prep and varsity assistant coach at St. Joe's Prep. Coach Matt, we'll start off kind of at the start of the season. Had a very diverse out-of-league schedule. West Philly, a very up-tempo team. St. John's down in D.C. I know you guys played two St. John's. One game a little more competitive than the other. But St. John's down in D.C., number 14 team in the nation. Obviously, very talented, very athletic. And then you also played Friends Central and Malvern Prep. So it's kind of right there. That's four very, very different teams. So talk a little bit about, what went into, the scheduling to get you guys ready for the PCL season.
Well, like you said, they were four very different teams with four very different styles. Going into this Catholic league, we're going to be playing different style teams. Roman Catholic, Newman Gregor likes to run up and down, and then you have a Devon Prep who likes to slow the game down, make it more half court. So going into the scheduling, we wanted to have a very diverse schedule to just get our guys' eyes on any look and every look that we might possibly see in the Catholic League.
And then Coach Harrigan just joined us. Coach Harrigan, it's good to see you. I'm Will. Along with me is Bob Long. So Coach Harrigan, let's get right into it. It's your third season at St. Joe's Prep. The first season, I kind of called a weird first season, the COVID year. I kind of called it the Jimmy King year because I remember Jimmy King having an unbelievable game against Bonner. And then, last year you kind of had a lot of freshmen, with the exception of Jackson Gaffney and Jaden Vargas. And then this year, that's kind of when you see, the fruits of the labors of those first 2 years. I want to say 16-5 right now. Would that be correct? So, with you guys being 16-5, can you just talk a little bit about the journey, coming in after Speedy? I think your mic might be off.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, man, it's been a journey for sure, man. That first year, it was just kind of figuring out different dynamics at the school and such. Getting used to just the environment and trying to establish a culture. Obviously, Jimmy was great for us. He got hurt during that year, which I think he could have really made some noise. He was unbelievable. He's still around the program. He whenever he's home, he's tapped in. Even when he's away, he's watching our game support. So shout out to Jimmy King for sure. And then last year, it was we had a lot of young guys, but Vargas, he was our leader, and we wanted to win for him. And our guys, we thought that we had some talent. We knew we had some talent. But they were young, and young guys make young mistakes. So to be thrown in the fire like that, in an extremely tough league, it wasn't everything, we had we had a couple 1-point losses, overtime losses, things like that. We just didn't kind of close out games. But throughout ever since that season ended, we made an investment in these guys, and coaches locked in the gym with them, and we played a lot of games in the off season. As coach was saying when I hopped in, it was a calculated preseason, not preseason, but non-league schedule to make sure we get some different looks from some different teams. We wanted to play a competitive schedule. We would definitely want to challenge ourselves and get prepare for the Catholic League. So that journey has just been nonstop. We're blessed to have some kids who, and their families as well, who are really, really dedicated to spending a lot of time in the gym in the off season, from the summer leagues and spring leagues and fall leagues, to every day working out, coaches, parents, players, everybody just like kind of locked in and committed to getting better. So it was a really, really good off season, and I think that throughout the season, we've grown as a team as well.
No doubt. And this question could kind of go to the both of you guys, but we've talked about how tough it is to win at Kelly Fieldhouse. If you're a visiting team, you guys have really made that a great home court advantage. Can you just talk a little bit about, the benefits and the advantages of having, such a great facility where you can, I know Philly Live was there this summer. You guys can have everyone getting great reps. Can you just talk a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, the space that we have is, unbelievable. So we have, 10 courts, 10 baskets. So, we're developing freshman, JV, varsity at all times. Coaches can, get with players one-on-one or small groups, maybe 3 to 4 guys, and develop. So they get a lot of shots up, and I think that's evident in how we play. We shoot the ball pretty well for the most part. And having that space and being in the space being available, like we don't have to deal with like having a girls team. So like the space is basically ours. There's some wrestling things, or maybe football needs some space sometimes, but for the most part, we are able to use that space, and our guys get a lot of shots. And the court may be different to some, with the backdrop and things like that, but they're in there so much. Our guys are really used to it. And then not for nothing, our guys, they find time, a lot of them find time outside of practice and workouts to get shots, and the facility's always available. So that's, that's something that coming into this, and when I decided to, take the job, I was always considering that, like, that's a big part of this, is having a great facility, and it being available to us. So I think we've taken advantage of that.
And Coach Matt, anything to add on that? Obviously, Coach Jason talked a little bit about how, there's always freshman guys and JV guys that can be working as well. Obviously you're a varsity assistant, but you also, take care of all the JV guys. Talk a little bit about, their development and why you see so many young guys at the prep doing so well.
I think you just said it, like just the availability of the space and the difference of like the backdrops and the lighting of the space. It gives the shooters, different looks and different reads on the court that they may not get in just a one gym setting. Like we have different lighting on one court that we don't. We have a different backdrop, whereas in the PCL, some gyms, like West Catholic is small, it's enclosed, and then you have a LaSalle that's a little more, a bigger, which is a shooter's gym, so to speak. So that allows our shooters, varsity, freshmen, JV, all to just get different looks and allow us to really elevate as shooters.
And I want to just piggyback on that, like, you look at a guy like Matt Gorman, or even like Jalen Harper, like those guys played JV together, and Coach Matt coached them, and we were very intentional about their development. We knew that this would be a year that they would have to contribute, so we had conversations about the looks that they needed to get, how we would spend their time on the court, and I think the fruits of that is a huge benefit for us, and I think Coach Matt did a good job of it.
Guys, a quick one from me here. Bob Long, great to see you both. Obviously, this is a Catholic League playoff preview show, but with simultaneous qualification processes going on at the same time, if you will, the results of what happened in the regular season and then the Catholic League playoffs will determine who qualifies for the state playoffs. It's quite a shame and a conversation for a larger day that only two 6A teams from the Catholic League even have the chance to play into the PIAA state playoffs, with what I'll say is three teams that have a realistic shot with the right bounces to win a state title from the Catholic League alone in this qualification. How much has that been on your minds, if at all, as you've gone through the last 4 weeks or so of Catholic League play?
I mean, you can't help but, pay attention to it. It's a great opportunity to play for a state championship. So, it's something that we're like, we recognize it, but the focus is always on like the next game and the task at hand. So in this league, it's kind of tough to really kind of like reach out and think about things in the future. The benefit of this league is that you're always getting better and you're always being challenged. So we always have a challenge in front of us, and that helps us, allows us to get better. I think that most of the coaches and players in the league are. They came to the league to challenge themselves. So that's the great part about the league. Unfortunately, the way the state playoffs are set up and the district in this case, obviously the public league has over 100 schools there. So like, they give them a spot, in which case, like this year, obviously, we do have three teams that could legitimately win the state title. And it's a shame that all three can't make it. But at the same time, when you're playing these games, you're able to like really, focus in on what we're doing because we understand the importance of it. So I think that our reps at practice get better, whether it's a shooting drill or just a random practice 3 days before a game, and we got to wait till Friday to play, but they understand the significance of what we're playing for. And I think that adds to the development of all the players and coaches just wanting to get better, understanding what's at stake and how important it is. And that's why you see such great games, and the league is so great because the stakes are so high, for real quality players and coaches and teams and programs, great followings, great support from the administration and school. And everybody kind of knows what's at stake. So that's why you get such a great product.
Well, and from a standpoint of those big games that put you in that position, this is going to be airing live on Monday night, so we don't have the benefit of your regular season finale result. But fresh in our minds as we record on Saturday is your big win against Roman Catholic, dominating even at home. Could you talk us through that game, arguably the most impressive result across the league all year long?
Well, Coach Matt, you want to chime in before me? Because I can go all day on that one.
I bet.
That too. Just all our guys buying into the ideals of what Coach set in place when he first got here. We all have a championship mindset, so it doesn't we stay on the game one game at a time. We don't like to get too far ahead of ourselves. We don't like to think about the future, but we know what we want to accomplish in the future. And Roman Catholic, coming off of a loss against Wood, it was a statement for us. We felt as though we didn't play our style of basketball, and we wanted to get back to playing our style, and we were focused and locked in on our jobs and our assignments. And we feel like we could be anybody in this league, honestly. So our guys, when we're locked in, I feel as though we can't be beat, and they feel the same.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that, it was a huge win for our guys, a big step for them. Before the game, we're going through scout, and one thing I mentioned to them was like, a lot of people tend to mention that like we're a young team. And for me, I'm like, it's February, like at this point, you guys aren't young. You're not sophomores and juniors anymore. Like you guys are juniors and seniors at this point. They had enough experience. We've exposed them to the right teams and the right situations, in which case they've learned a lot and we've grown. So for us, it was just an opportunity. I think the opportunity was earned, they did a lot this season to put themselves in a place to play against a Roman Catholic in a situation in which case it was high stakes, right? It's the end of the season, and last year we played Roman Catholic, and it wasn't high stakes, and we competed, but it wasn't a high stakes game. So to be there at home with a chance to, before that game, we were anywhere between the 2 seed or 8 seed. So it's just so much at stake. They put themselves in a good spot to award that opportunity. We had a great crowd, great support from our students and just the prep community in a whole. It was alumni night, senior night, and I think that Roman, obviously, it's Roman Catholic, so it's guys are going to get up. We had great energy, and our guys really they answered the bell. It was we've been playing some good basketball, but we've been waiting for it to all kind of come together. And just have a complete game on both ends of the court by all guys. And I think that's kind of what happened. And our biggest thing was throughout the season is playing our best basketball in February. So we want to be hitting our stride around this time. I think that when we played Wood last week, I think, it was a lot of different factors. I think we didn't shoot the ball that well. We didn't make free throws when we needed to. And then, you got a kid who is arguably the most talented player in the area, like in the city. And, he had 40. So, it was a lot that went into that, and we lost in overtime. But our guys kind of saw that, we can make a statement here, and we are good enough, even like on a bad day when we shot the ball not too well, and the kid had an unbelievable performance, but there were some things that we could fix. So I think our thing is accountability. So coming off of that game, we were just reflecting on the previous 20 games that we played. We played 20 games against great competition, and any game that we lost or won, we can see where we can do better at. So those guys are really, really smart kids, and they understand what's going on the court, and what we're trying to do and what their responsibilities are, and they kind of took ownership of that. And I think against Roman last night, it just kind of came together at the right time, and they played well. And I'm really happy for them. They had a great moment last night.
And then just to wrap things up, I'll give you guys both a chance. If you guys do end up getting that Friday night home game at Kelly Fieldhouse, any message to the students and prep alumni, prep fans to come out and support the Hawks?
Go ahead, Matt.
Just everybody come. We're going to get a win. I think that if everybody comes out, show support, as if they did like Roman, we're going to put on a show. We're a great team. These guys they're locked in. They're ready to go. And they're trying to win a championship. Sorry, my dog messing with me.
For me, man, it's just like the fans and the support around the building leading up to the game felt, electric. And during the game, you could feel the energy. So right before the game, I normally talk to the guys and try to rev them up. And, yesterday it was just like, I don't really need to say much. I could feel the energy. I know you guys feel the energy. I felt like I was ready to play in the game. And, if you were there in the building, you know how special it felt before the game even, and I think that our fans and the supporters, they know that they were a part of that game, they really made an impact on the game. So I would just say that moving forward, if we have an opportunity to play at home or even on the road, understand how important you guys are to us, and how you can have an influence and be a part of that game. Our kids really felt it during the game, pre-game, post-game, and that you can't take that for granted. So we appreciate you, and definitely come out, be a part of it, make that statement, and help get us over the hump.
Well,
If I could reach,
what's that?
if I could chime in and feed off of Coach, our guys they feed off of energy. And if anybody can come support and bring that energy, our guys will feed off of it and have a great game for sure.
Well, Coach Jason, Coach Matt, thank you guys both so much. Again, this will be airing on Monday at 6:30. Bob and I are going to do a full PCL preview show, so we'll be live in studio. And then as we're previewing whoever you guys are playing, again, we're not sure yet. There's still game to be played against Cardinal O'Hara, a big game to be played against Cardinal O'Hara. But whoever you guys are playing, we'll just slide this in and feature you guys for in the preview show. So we'll slide you that link as well. And very, very thankful for you guys' time.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Appreciate everything you guys are doing. Bob, like you're doing some great work. People appreciate your your YouTube videos. A lot of our fans, they're like, we're watching Bob Long Sports tonight. So it's just great to just have media outlets. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Ted Solari, and my blessings go to him and his family. Ted did so much for the city, and now when I see like other outlets starting to pick up some of those, different things and starting to, like use the YouTubes and these type of preview shows and things like that, it's really great for the city. It's great for the kids, that the kids have these outlets and people can, learn about what's going on. And Bob is always very like, knowledgeable of every scenario. I hear him in pre-games and he breaks down all the different scenarios. So that's great for the kids. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And I think it's really, really important for the kids and just to showcase their talent and those things. So thank you for everything that you guys are doing. And best of luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Jason. Now, kind words. We're thrilled to showcase the young men that make this league go. They got great stories, and we just try to tell them. And I'm glad you brought up Ted Solari, really the godfather of this whole thing, and we owe a lot to him. So appreciate you both, and good luck. We'll be watching along the way. Matt Gerner and Jason Harrigan. What a great interview that was. A long one, but worth every minute of it, and we appreciate their kind words about us. And whether they like it or not, we're going to be in the building on Friday. Can't say that enough. Cannot wait for Archbishop Wood versus St. Joe's Prep. A fight for the second and final spot, with a chance to advance through the 6A playoffs in the PIAA. And just as important, only one of those teams goes to the Palestra as well. Will, these teams have matched up one time before. Archbishop Wood went to Kelly Fieldhouse, won the game in overtime. Jaleel Bethea with 40 points. What stood out to you, and who were the keys to both teams when they're rocking and rolling?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that game was a game of extremes. Jaleel Bethea, 40 points. That's an extremely good performance. But Archbishop Wood as a whole shot 64% from three that game. Meanwhile, St. Joe's Prep on their home court shot just 16% from three in that game. So when you look at that, you're going to say, okay, well, Archbishop Wood's not going to shoot that well again, and St. Joe's Prep's not going to shoot that bad again. You look for Jaron McKee to have a better game than he did in the first matchup. He was 1 for 9 from three, 6 for 17 from the field. Look for him to be a little bit more efficient. He still, had 13 points. Look for him to be in that 13 to 18 range, and it'll be Jaleel Bethea. How does he show up? The supporting cast of Archbishop Wood has been pretty consistent this year. Josh Reed's really, really good defender. Gus Salem knocks down open threes. Milan Dean has been improved of late. It's whether Jaleel's going to give you 28 or 35 or 22, and whether he does so in an efficient manner. This season, he's been so great and is a PCL MVP candidate because he's been so efficient, because he's been so good at the other things, other than scoring. Great rebounder, great passer. So it's going to come down to, I think it's going to be a game of star power. Jaleel and Jaron McKee. The other, kind of subplot is if a big man gets in foul trouble, there's not really Marcus Dixon's a little bit of a backup big man for Wood, but if Carson Howard gets in foul trouble, they're going to have trouble against Tristan Gillowette, and the same thing goes if Tristan gets in foul trouble, they'll have trouble with Carson Howard. So that's a really good subplot for this one.
One of the best insiders and X's and O's guys across the Philadelphia Catholic League, Will Ryan, breaking down our key performers and key indicators in terms of who's going to win that basketball game. I know we're looking forward to it.